Hey ghouls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and today's video is going to be my August anticipated releases for 2024. Like always, this is not a comprehensive list. These are just some of the titles that I am most looking forward to. So many books come out each month, I cannot keep track of them, but these are just some of the titles that I'm excited about. I will have the book information on the screen with me while I'm talking, as well as in the description bar below. So let's go ahead and talk about some August titles that I'm looking forward to. This is a very interesting month when it comes to release dates, at least for the books that I'm talking about, because normally we have them spread throughout the month. However, this month, most of them come out August 6th, with a couple coming out towards the end of the month, but for the most part, almost all of these releases are coming out August 6th, so it is a very stacked release date. So first book on my list coming out August 6th is The Seventh Veil of Salome by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Silvia Moreno-Garcia is an auto pickup author for me. She is so experimental when it comes to horror and sci-fi and crime. Like, she dabbles a little bit in a bunch of different subgenres, and I really tend to like her very explorative takes. I never know what her next release is going to look like, and that's exciting. This one takes place in 1950s Hollywood. A young woman wins the role of a lifetime in a film about a legendary heroine, but the real drama is behind the scenes in this sumptuous historical epic. So this one says it's historical fiction, thriller, mystery, romance, very intriguing. So not really horror, but she kind of dabbles in a lot of different genres. Like I said before, every actress wants to play Salome, the star-making role in a big budget movie about the legendary woman whose story has inspired audiences and artists since ancient times. So when the film's director casts Vera Leros, an unknown Mexican ingenue, in the lead role, she quickly becomes talk of the town. She also becomes an object of envy for Nancy Hartley, a bit player whose career has stalled, and she will do anything to win the fame that she believes that she richly deserves. Two actresses, both determined to make it to the top in Golden Age Hollywood, make for a sizzling combination. But this is the tale of three women, for it is also the story of the Princess Salome herself, consumed with desire for the fiery prophet who foretells the doom of her stepfather Herod, a woman torn between the degree of duty and the yearning of her heart. Before the curtain comes down, there will be tears and tragedy aplenty in the sexy Technicolor saga. The last thing that I read from Silvia Moreno-Garcia also had to deal with filmmaking. It was more of a horror take. This is more of a historical fiction take, but I'm intrigued. This is a premise that I just feel like, first of all, that cover is absolutely gorgeous, but I just feel like this synopsis and the historical fiction and really diving into this period of time, I think this is going to be such a beautiful read, and I cannot wait to check it out. Next up on the list, we have The Dead Cattail Assassins by Djèlí Clark. This is an author that I've read from before as well, and they do a really good job in like the fantasy sphere. I also know that they have horror releases. I haven't actually read anything horror by them yet, but the fantasy that I've read, I've really enjoyed. And this one is also another fantasy. It also is marked as science fiction. This is a fantasy novella, and the dead cattail assassins are not cats, nor do they have tails, but they are most assuredly dead. Evine the Eviscerator is skilled, discreet, professional, and here for your most pressing needs. Her guild is strong, her blades are sharp, and her rules are simple. Those sworn to the matron of assassins, resurrected, deadly, wiped of their memories, have only three unbreakable vows. First, the contract must be just. Second, even the most powerful assassin may only kill the contracted. And third, once you accept a job, you must carry it out. And if you stray, a final death would be a mercy. When the festival of the Clockwork King turns the city upside down, Evine's newest mission brings her face to face with a past she isn't supposed to remember and a vow she can't forget. Djèlí Clark does a really good job creating fantasy novellas that have like like horror elements to them, but also introduce you to wonderfully built characters and worlds all within a very short page count. So I'm intrigued. I like a good assassin story, and I can't wait to see P. Djèlí Clark's take. The next new release is House of Bone and Rain by Gabino Iglesias. This is such a striking cover to me, and this is about a group of 5 teenage boys. They live in Puerto Rico and they seek vengeance after one of their mothers is murdered. It's a doomed tale of devotion and the afterlife of violence. We're following 5 childhood friends who have always been so close, connected at the hip. This is something I love in horror. I feel like I'm not the only one there. This also blurs the boundaries between myth, mysticism, and the grim realities of our world. It's a harrowing coming-of-age story, a doomed tale of devotion, the afterlife of violence, and what rolls in on the tide. I really love coming-of-age horror. I've not read from this author yet, but I've heard wonderful things. This author is a Shirley Jackson and Bram Stoker award-winning author of The Devil Takes You Home. I haven't read that yet. I need to, but I am really looking forward to this book. Cover is striking, and the premise is one that really tends to work for me in horror. The next anticipated release is The Unmothers. This is by Leslie J. Anderson, and this is an emotionally raw and propulsive folk horror mystery. A journalist goes to a small town and unravels a dark secret that the women have been keeping for generations. Marshall is still trying to put the pieces together after the death of her husband. After she's involved in a terrible accident, her editor sends her to the small backwards town of Rayford to investigate a clearly ridiculous rumor that a horse has given birth to a healthy human boy. When Marshall arrives in Rayford, she finds an insular town that is kinder to the horses that they are famous for breeding than to their own people. But when 2 horribly mangled bodies are discovered in a field, one a horse, one a human, she realizes that there may be a big story here. This is an atmospheric tale of female rage, bodily autonomy, and generational trauma. This one, what a wild concept, horse giving birth to a baby boy. I think I have the potential to love this one. I have done review rec videos on horror books that have to deal with like body autonomy, female rage horror. I really like it in a horror, and I love a small town. I love a small insular town with secrets, and this one sounds right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to this folk horror that's coming out on August 6th. The next release is Ghost Mother by Kelly Dwyer. This is a ghost story that blurs the thin line between reality and delusion. Lily Bly desperately wants to have a baby. She's struggling with infertility, and her husband gets a new job, moves them to a small town. She falls in love with a decrepit mansion well out of their price range, but she's convinced this is the magic key. She'll finally get pregnant and they will have a family in this home. Jack agrees to buy the wreck, but she learns that her dream house was the site of a gruesome triple homicide and suicide in the 1950s. She begins to experience strange occurrences that soon lead her to believe the house is haunted. This one says it's perfect for fans of classic gothic horror fiction like Henry James's The Turn of the Screw and Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. I could definitely see that because the main character's last name is Bly, and that's obviously a nod to The Turn of the Screw. And I'm intrigued. We're seeing a lot of motherhood in horror recently. Horror is a genre that changes and reflects the anxieties of a time, and at a time where we no longer have Roe v. Wade in the United States and access to reproductive health care is more limited than our mothers had and previous generations, it's no surprise that we're seeing themes of motherhood and having children and loss and conception and just motherhood overall as a theme being really prevalent in the horror genre. I wanted to point that out because I know the past 2 titles that I have talked about have really been focused on motherhood and fertility and body autonomy in very different ways, but still it has to deal with those themes, and I just think that's really interesting, and I'm looking forward to this one. I love classic gothic horror fiction, so I'm eager to see what this brings to the table. And then the last August 6th release that I'm going to talk about is A Mask of Flies by Matthew Lyons. and this is a Tor Nightfire release. I tend to love the horror that Tor Nightfire puts out, but this is a crime horror. It's a criminal on the run after a failed heist must confront dark family secrets and demons from her past made flesh. In the grisly aftermath of a botched bank heist, career criminal Anne Heller has no choice but to return to her family's cabin, a secluded shack in Colorado's San Luis Valley, and the site of her mother's untimely death. Along for the ride are her badly wounded partner and a police officer that she's taken hostage as they wait for help and discover strange relics from her mother's past and begins to unfold the mystery of her childhood at the cabin. This cover is creepy. There is more of a synopsis than what I just read, but I just feel like for this one, a little bit less is a little bit more when it comes to enjoying this one. I have already heard a lot of people pick this one up and love it, so I'm really intrigued. Like I mentioned, Tor Nightfire rarely ever has a miss for me, so I'm looking forward to checking this one out. Okay, now we are moving to August 20th for the last two books of this video. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, a very top-heavy month for me, at least in terms of the books that I'm talking about, but this next book comes out the 20th. It's The Last Witch in Edinburgh by Marielle Thompson. This is a lush, atmospheric novel that blends witchcraft, queer love, a vibrant Edinburgh setting, and Scottish folklore for a propulsive and emotional story exploring what it means to resist the patriarchy and find your voice. If you know me, you heard a lot of buzzwords for me in that little blurb. I don't normally pick up historical fiction. My two main genres are fantasy and horror. However, when I do, I really do like historical fiction that is not in the 1900s. I like really old historical fiction, and I really like tales of witchcraft, witch trials. Those really work for me in a historical setting. I really enjoy queer themes explored in historical fiction as well. We're in an alternate Edinburgh, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. I will figure it out. I will get the audiobook for this one and definitively learn and take it to heart. But every woman lives in fear that she will be the next one hanged for witchcraft. All it takes is invoking the anger or the desire of the wrong person. Nellie Duncan, beautiful and unwed, keeps to herself until she encounters the Ray Woman's apothecary. There, fiery Jean Ray and other women provide cures and teach others that they too can aid the winter deity, embracing her characteristic independence, agency, and craft, in turn becoming witches themselves. So, alternate kind of historical fiction with potentially some fantasy elements there. Add in witches, add in a queer romance, and I'm set. I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. And then last but not least, you didn't think that I would have a new releases video without talking about a vampire new release, did you? We Love the Nightlife by Rachel Koller Croft is about vampires. Locked in a toxic female friendship, two vampires careen towards catastrophe in this dark and dazzling page-turner set amidst London's glittering disco scene. London, 1979. Two women with a deep love for disco meet one fateful night on the dance floor, changing the course of both of their lives forever. Nicola is a beautiful and brooding vampire. For nearly 2 centuries, she cannot resist fun-loving and feisty Amber from America, ultimately offering an eternity together where the glamour of nightlife always takes center stage, but not all is what it seems. Fantasy horror with vampires, it kind of feels a little bit sapphic. I don't know. I'm going into it not knowing a lot. I don't know if this is either going to be sapphic or it's going to be an intense female friendship, and I love both of those things, so whatever direction this book goes, I'm really eager to check out. I love vampires. When I find a horror release that has vampires in it, I have to check it out. So I'm really looking forward to this one. The cover is fun. The setting seems really fun as well with like the disco era. So I cannot wait to check out this vampire novel. And there we have it. Those are some of the books that I'm looking forward to checking out that come out August 2024. What do y'all think? Thank you all so much for watching. Definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your most anticipated release for August of this year. Subscribe to my channel for all of the bookish, cozy gaming, and horror content. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!